But we begin with the story of a new restaurant in the Jefferson-Chalmers neighborhood. And it's not just the story of a new place to eat in the city. What caught our attention is how Norma G's came to be. It took a man with a food truck and a neighborhood development organization with the space and a lot of clout to help pull in philanthropy, city investment, and serious capital just to start one business. It's the beginning of dinner service at Norma G's in the Jefferson-Chalmers neighborhood on Detroit's east side. Bright colors on the walls, the subtle smell of spice, and music. You realize you've come to one of the only places serving Caribbean cuisine in the city. And owner Lester Govaya makes sure his dishes are done just as his mother, the original Norma G, would have fixed them.
This thing is very basic, but it was good. It just worked. And, you know, she cooked that way. She just cooked with love. And my rule is when I go in there, they make a joke of me when they said if they see me dancing, they know the food's gonna taste good. So it's just the love coming out. How you folks? Already? Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming. Thanks a million already.
Norma G's is Lester's dream. From catering to running a popular food truck to finally this space that's making history on the east side. It's the first sit-down dining restaurant in Jefferson-Chalmers in 30 years.
What I'm getting from the people locally is we're glad you're here. It's nice to have something in the neighborhood. They know it's helping to change the neighborhood.
Lester's story isn't a simple one about opening a restaurant, which is hard enough. It's really about how it all happened. He had a lot of help. Intentional investment from the neighborhood economic engine guiding the next steps of this area of the city, Jefferson East Incorporated.
Everybody says it takes a village. I think I ended up with a village people because there's been so many people involved in this.
We're here today with a restaurant that's now employing dozens of people, all from the neighborhood.
Norma G's opening in September was a celebration of a new business and the 5-year process where people at Jefferson East helped guide this $1.1 million project, from the community-led ideas to the physical building to foundation support to city investment.
And we create incentives where we would match a great entrepreneur like Lester with space in a growing neighborhood.
Everything that we've done has been really informed by what the community wanted to see.
Derek Scott is the CEO of the East Jefferson Development Corporation, the arm of the organization working on deals to bring more housing and retail to the 5 neighborhoods that Jefferson East represents. He says the group is working to be deliberate in helping in the type of businesses opening up in the neighborhood.
If you're going to do business with us, or if you're going to be a retailer, if you're going to benefit from a lot of the resources that we have, we just ask you to sign on to a few simple things.
Like making sure those businesses hire locals in the building process, have realistic price points, and serve the community's needs.
So like here at Norma G's, Lester has 15 employees, 14 of which that can walk here to work every day. So that's huge.
Lester worked with Jefferson East to align his business plans and lease the space at a reduced rate. But help to open Norma G's went even further.
Organizations that I work with, like Tech Town, my mentors, you know, coming out of Green Garage and Food Lab and knowing those people, and then the DGC, Detroit Economic Growth Corporation, Motor City Match. I mean, I've got some folks there that were just championing me constantly. So being able to go to them and saying, guys, I'm stuck, or can you help me with this, or, you know, whatever. Having the resources really made a difference.
But not every neighborhood has a powerful organization to gather this type of investment and help navigate the city processes. Derek says they can share what they've learned with other grassroots organizations. When you look at the amount of dollars that are available, the amount of investment projects that are available, it's almost kind of like what neighborhoods are going to be able to be the ones to get them and to capture them and to be able to make them work for their neighborhoods and not just be placed there. It's got to be very difficult if you're living in other pockets of the city and saying, gosh, when is that going to come to my neighborhood or to my street?
And I think we're cognizant of that as well, that we're in a very privileged kind of position that we take with humility and say, you know, we've got an opportunity to do something that not every neighborhood has access to. And so how do we manage that project so that it builds trust even within, you know, the funding organizations within the city, to be able to trust in other organizations to do the same thing and carry the other model. So I think as we see successes, we're trying to figure out ways to share some of our best practices with some of those other organizations and other neighborhoods.
As for Lester, he knows Norma G's isn't the typical restaurant opening story. He has a lot of people rooting for him, and they're expecting a lot too.
It's fun. You know what? Life would be boring if you didn't have something to push you. And this is, I like the challenges here. I hope I can survive it. But right now it's been, you know, I get up and I have a purpose, and I feel good about that. It's not going to a job. I'm really going to just, it's an experience for me. And if I can give that experience not only to the customer, but my staff, I think that's the key part. We have a lot of conversations, we talk about things.
Jefferson East has several more projects in the works. They're working on 2 buildings with 23 residential units, also a new headquarters at the old Kresge 5 & Dime location, and that'll have a restaurant in it as well. So let's bring in Nolan Finley of the Detroit News and Stephen Henderson of WDET Radio. Guys, it's good to see you. When you see a story like that and you see just one restaurant, but what it took to be able to get that in that deliberate place, you do wonder how many other areas of the city can that happen in, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge we have, is that we don't have the market conditions yet to be able to open a business in a neighborhood and not have this extraordinary lift from the city, from the development corporations, and all these other things. And there are a lot of parts of the city that don't have CDCs. There are parts of the city, vast parts of the city, that don't even have block clubs or community associations. And so you do have to start to wonder, can we ever get to the point where this is sort of ubiquitous in Detroit? And this is not that, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from the restaurant owner. It's not a big deal to open a restaurant on Jefferson Avenue, one of the most trafficked streets in the entire city. That should be a no-brainer. But the fact that it's not, the fact that it takes us so much to get that going, it's a reminder of how much work is still ahead of us.
But to be able to have some of these processes in place, and I think really the deliberate investment was what caught me in saying, okay, if you're going to come in, we want you to have a few of these things that you're benefiting the community, and it's something that the community wants and will support, Nolan.
Yeah, and I noticed that he had a liquor license, and those are very hard and expensive to get. If we were to make, if the state were to make liquor licenses cheaper and easier to get, you would have more restaurants popping up, more people taking risks on restaurants in neighborhoods, and restaurants are often the leading edge business, the first businesses to reestablish in a neighborhood. I think we shouldn't be so stingy with them, nor should we set the threshold, cost threshold.
And he did say that that was a process to go through.
In other cities, you're right, restaurants, they need low overhead, and so a lot of times when an area gets gentrified, like redeveloped, a restaurant will move, open in a place that's near it because the rents are lower, and that helps move that neighborhood up at the same time. We're not seeing that yet in Detroit because, again, the challenges are still really hard.
You did in Corktown. I mean, Corktown, the first businesses that really established there were restaurants, and they started bringing in people, and next thing you know, now you go to Corktown and
but that's been 20 years in the making.
It's a long process.
Well, I think I should go out on more of these assignments because the food is really, really good.
Did you bring some carry-out?
I did take a little carry-out home.
One of those plantains.
I actually just sat at the bar and ate. It was really good. So thanks to Lester and to Norma G.